All right, Mr. Taliaferro TV, how's everybody doing out there? Big time trade just happened in the NBA. Yo, we're at the point where the NBA is taking up headlines in November. We ain't even at Thanksgiving yet, and a big time trade has transpired in the NBA. Honestly, this trade probably should have happened this summer. I think Minnesota would have came out on a better end of the stick if they would have just traded this guy before the season started. And it became so toxic in that Minnesota Timberwolves locker room. They just had to take what they can get at this point. I'm actually surprised they came out this decent. So here's what has happened. The Philadelphia 76ers and the Minnesota Timberwolves have agreed to a trade as long as Jimmy Butler and company passes physical. That will send Jimmy Butler to Philly to join Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. And the Philadelphia 76ers will trade away Dario Saric. Once he was a 4th pick of the draft, I believe, a few years ago. And Robert Covington. Saric's a really good player. He can shoot the three. He's like a stretch. Anybody that knows like a Danilo Gallinari, that's like his game. Saric's a pretty decent player. Robert Covington, a three-point shooter out of TSU. He knocks that three-point down. He's really reformed his game and become a decent NBA player, a nice rotation guy. Also, I believe there are a couple other players that have just been announced a part of this trade, just so I get you guys every detail possible. There's a 2nd-round pick that will be involved in this trade, and also Justin Patton. So Justin Patton is in the trade as well. That's going over to Minnesota. So if you're a Minnesota fan, hopefully Robert Covington and Dario Saric can be inserted immediately to that team. You got a lot of good things going on with Derrick Rose right now. Hopefully you get this locker room back. Andrew Wiggins steps his game up. Karl-Anthony Towns steps his game up. You add these two pieces, Saric and Wiggins, Saric and Covington, and maybe you can make a playoff run. Hopefully Saric and Covington space the court. A lot of shooting woes for the Timberwolves. Hopefully you got some guys that give a guy like Cat and Wiggins some room to work in, and Rose some room. So it looks like they're putting a lot of trust and confidence back into Derrick Rose's hands. I'm going to tell you what happened in Minnesota. Tom Thibodeau was the guy. He's the coach of the team, and he's a VP as well. He wanted to stick it out with Jimmy Butler. He believed as long as you kept Jimmy Butler around that team, the longer you got into the season, that him and that Minnesota Timberwolves team would figure it out. They had a big win or two, but overall, this team wasn't playing good basketball. Karl-Anthony Towns has, in my opinion, declined from what he was last year and even the year before that. He didn't look good with Jimmy Butler in that lineup. His body language looked bad. Wiggins, I'm not even going to blame Jimmy Butler for Wiggins. To me, he's been overrated since he's gotten into the league. Never lived up to the hype. So I'm looking at a Minnesota team who's just struggling. And after their loss to Sacramento, Thibodeau last night, he was like, you know what? We're not playing Jimmy Butler ever again. We're not going to play him again. He's toxic to this organization, you know, and we're just going to sit him out, and we're going to not play him again until we trade him. You know, again, the owner, Glenn Taylor, always wanted Jimmy Butler moved. But Tom Thibodeau was trying his best to convince the owner, yo, I'm going to work it out. I'm a coach. Let me work it out. Now Thibodeau's job is in jeopardy. All right. Now he's got to win with Saric and Covington and that Minnesota team, because the owner wanted Jimmy Butler traded a couple months ago. And I'm honest to God truth, they probably could have got a better offer if they would have traded him to Miami, when the Miami Heat reportedly had Hassan Whiteside, Justice Winslow, Josh Richardson. All these guys were on the table. And now, at best, Minnesota now knows they won't end up with a star. I don't believe Saric or Covington would ever become a star. I don't believe a 2nd-round pick or Justin Patton will ever become stars. So now Thibodeau's on the hot seat, honest to God truth. And now let's swing over to Jimmy Butler and the Philadelphia 76ers side of things. Obviously, this is a home run for Philadelphia. I'm going to tell you this. I got to see Jimmy Butler and Ben Simmons get along, man. So far throughout Jimmy Butler's career, he has failed to get along with pretty much anyone. You know, he doesn't get along with guys. Before I'm 100% sold on Jimmy Butler and Ben Simmons, I got to, you know what I mean, I got to see them get along. Because I think Joel Embiid is pretty easy to get along with. He's a controversial, like, he's a guy, I like guys like this. Like, they're not afraid of controversy. They're not afraid to get in your face and tell you how they feel and tell you if you're bullshitting, and they'll even admit when they're bullshitting, right? So I think with Joel Embiid, I think he'll get along with Jimmy Butler just fine. He wanted LeBron this summer. Joel Embiid was on Twitter recruiting LeBron. They didn't get him. They missed, right? And now you get a guy who's not LeBron, but he's one of the best two-way players in this game when focused. I just gotta see Jimmy Butler and Ben Simmons get along. I could see some friction there. Ben Simmons has a Wiggins-type personality, in my opinion, and obviously Jimmy Butler and Wiggins didn't get along. The difference between Ben Simmons and Wiggins is Ben Simmons worked his ass off. I think the notion was about Andrew Wiggins was that he didn't put in the work. That's what Jimmy Butler was one of the reasons why he was upset. He didn't believe Wiggins and Towns put in the work. So I gotta see if Wiggins can, if Butler can get along with another Canadian-born star and Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons, he be feeling himself, man. He's a pretty egotistical dude. He's arrogant. You know, he's got every right to be. He's a phenomenal player, top 20 guy to me in this league. But he ain't proved anything yet, and Jimmy Butler's going to put that to the test. So we'll see how these two guys get along in regards to the actual on-court elements. Man, Embiid and Jimmy Butler, I think that's going to be a great fit. I think they're going to be able to work out some things. Embiid inside, kicking it out to Jimmy Butler, whose three-point shot looks pretty good this year. Ben Simmons making some on-point passes to Jimmy Butler. Transition's going to be... This is a better basketball team today because of this signing. I know a lot of people are going to ask me about Markelle Fultz. I think Philadelphia just buried him. I'm going to do another video on that soon. Please stay tuned to my platform. I think Philadelphia just buried him. You know, I think they just buried him. We'll talk more about that soon. More aspects of this trade. Jimmy Butler, a long-term deal cannot be agreed on right now because we're past that point in the season. You got to wait till this summer. But according to Woj, Jimmy Butler is 100% sold on signing a long-term deal in Philadelphia this summer. And honestly, I mean, if Philly doesn't get Jimmy Butler long-term, you didn't really give up anything significant. Saric was cool, but I always felt like Philadelphia had plans on trading Saric. I didn't think that would pay Saric any more money, right? So, I mean, Robert Covington, they gave a good deal too, but his contract was trade friendly with his production that he provides on the court. So I always thought, you know, if Philly was going to make a move for a star, they would have to give up Markelle Fultz. They actually were able to keep Markelle Fultz. That way, if Fultz is able to pan out, maybe you could trade him for a star. But now you got Fultz at your disposal. You don't need Fultz anymore. You got the scorer you need down the crunch. The reason why Philly lost to Boston in the playoffs last year was because they didn't have a guy who could close the game. Ben Simmons can't make a jumper. All right, their best jumpers, their best jump shooter right now is Joel Embiid or JJ Redick. Joel Embiid has been the guy that they go to down the clutch. Ben Simmons got to work on that jumper. You know, they're getting that Philadelphia team to positions to win. They just needed a closer. Jimmy Butler can close basketball games. Say what you want about Jimmy Butler. He ain't short in the confidence department, all right? This dude is cold-blooded down the stretch. You got to go type in Jimmy Butler clutch baskets over the last few years. I think we sleep on him. He's one of the 5 clutchest players in the NBA. He makes a lot of clutch baskets, and he's not afraid to take any shot and get a good shot down the stretch. So now Philly has their closer. And I know Boston has Kyrie and Gordon Hayward this year, but I'm gonna be honest. Philly just made a run at them. I'm gonna put Philly over Milwaukee right now. I think Boston is maybe a half step better than Philly in a 7-game series, but it is close. All right, Boston has more star power on the court, I believe. I think that. I'm not even sure about that anymore. Though, yo, this is happening in real time, ladies and gentlemen. So y'all tell me what y'all think about that. I still got Toronto better than Boston and Philly right now. Toronto's playing phenomenal basketball. I think I'm going to go Boston at 2 because of Brad Stevens and company. But that gap is close between Boston and Philly right now. It is close. And honestly, I think Boston's next move is to figure out what the heck they want to do with Gordon Hayward, Jaylen Brown, or, you know, Jason Tatum. Because right now they need guys to feel confident in their role and know that they're going to be there long term. So I think they might need to make a move on one of these guys, and I think they could get better like that. Like, yeah, you got to make a move on Terry Rozier or Kyrie Irving. You got to make a move on Gordon Hayward or Jason Tatum. Jaylen Brown, or, you know, they just got too much right now, and I think guys need more minutes. You know, a lot of the games they're going with Marcus Morris down the stretch. Jaylen Brown and Gordon Hayward on the bench some nights. You know, they need to make some moves. Terry Rozier on the bench, he's too good of a talent right now to be on the bench in late game situations. He believes he's better than Kyrie. So I'm just saying there's a lot going on in the NBA right now. Philly definitely just got better, and they got a closer. Again, for clarity, it's a two-team deal. No other teams are involved in this deal. It's Minnesota and Philly straight up and down. Jimmy Butler traded to the Philadelphia 76ers, and Philly will be sending over, they'll send over Dario Saric, Robert Covington. They're going to send over a second-round pick and Justin Patton as well to close that deal out. And Minnesota, again, they gave up on Jimmy Butler last night after the Sacramento loss. Philly believes Jimmy Butler's going to sign long-term. They're already under the table talking about a long-term deal. Now Jimmy Butler allots himself of pretty much a year to see if he can work in Philly, see what does his personality click with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, right? And he can stay in Philly, get all his money, right? They'll own his bird rights. And if it doesn't work out, he could dip on Philly and maybe go join Kyrie in New York somewhere, whatever, you know? So there's a lot of moving parts. But right now, we got a new powerhouse in the Eastern Conference. Philly's back, ladies and gentlemen. I know the Eagles just won the Super Bowl less than a calendar year ago. Them 76ers, I ain't gonna say they championship ready right now, but they're doing some things right in Philly. We got more videos on the way about this all day today. Please stay tuned to my platform. Subscribe if you have not done so. I'm out.